All right, so can I sell food from my home in Alabama? And how do you get a cottage food permit in the state of Alabama? And what is the cottage food law for the state of Alabama? I'm looking to make a food business, Damien, and I live in Alabama. So how do I do that? How do I create a business at home selling food under the cottage food laws in Alabama? I'm gonna give you the 10 steps to get you started in the cottage food business. And these 10 steps are a great foundation to help you understand how this works. And we're gonna dive into those 10 steps right now, guys. All right, guys, so welcome back to Marketing Food Online. This is Damien, and I'm gonna get you to the right direction under the cottage food laws for Alabama. I had a handful of questions on our other channel, actually, in regards to how to get this going under Alabama. They were not really sure. So I'm gonna give you the 10 different steps to take to get your legal cottage food business up and running. Now, these aren't in any particular order, of course, but these are the 10 things you should know, as well as what we're gonna cover as far as the types of food you can make, how much you can sell, labeling, and incorporating yourself and all that good stuff. So now, let's get right to it. Alabama does have a cottage food law. It actually looks like it was actually created around 2014, and it allows for up to $20,000 a year in sales. It is a little restrictive though, as far as what you can actually sell, okay, and where you can sell it. So the first thing I want to do is step number 1 is your business legalities. Let's get the legalities out of the way. Now, does the state of Alabama require you to have a business license and permits? No, they don't. Under the state law, it actually will allow you to do a business from home, but there is no specific incorporation. Now, I highly would recommend, to help protect yourself legally, you need to create an LLC for your home-based food business. This eliminates the need for you to worry about potentially being sued or being liable for anything that your business does under the cottage food laws in Alabama. So the idea is this: if you're going to sell foods, you need to have some type of LLC and even a food business policy insurance, because this will eliminate any potential legalities that may pop up, and you could be sued personally if you don't have a business and operating as a business. You want to definitely check into that. Creating an LLC, super simple. You can actually check down below this video in the description section. There's 3 different companies that we always recommend. They're great resources. You can actually click on them and you can incorporate yourself in any state and incorporate in Alabama as well in under like 10 or 15 minutes. It's very simple. So definitely check that out. You want to create that LLC. LLCs are limited liability corporations. These are companies that you own them, of course, as you file them, but under your personal assets and such as your home, your house, and other things, you cannot be held liable for what your business does and the transactions it takes from customers, okay? Step 2, where can you sell? So where in Alabama does the cottage food laws allow you to sell? All right, so the allowed venues are going to be local events, roadside stands, farmers markets, and actually directly from your home. Now, this is a little tricky because some people are not comfortable with the idea, but you can actually sell products from your home under the cottage food laws in Alabama if people come and pick up the product from your house. If you're okay with that, you know, and you're in a smaller community, maybe you know some of the people in the community and you're good with that, you can do that. Now, you can also deliver it, believe it or not, but you have to deliver it in person. Each of these transactions under the cottage food laws in Alabama do actually make clear that you need to be the one delivering it and transacting from you to your actual customer, okay, or have a home pickup. Now, Damien, where can I not sell it? Am I allowed to sell stuff online? Because I've heard cottage food laws, you can sell products online. In Alabama, you can't. Some of the prohibited places are retail stores. These would be anything like a grocery store, retail storefront, restaurants, cafes, or any retail eateries are prohibited. Online sales you can't do as well. Now, catering, mail order, and wholesale also are not allowed under Alabama state law. So you can't necessarily start a catering business under the cottage food laws in Alabama. You'd have to rent out a commercial kitchen of some kind. So those are the places you can and can't sell. Now, Damien, what kind of food can I sell? So, what does the cottage food law in Alabama allow me to sell? You can do brownies, donuts, muffins, cakes, biscuits, scones, rolls and breads, cookies, sweetbreads, and pizzelles. Now that's under basically baked goods. You can do those types of baked good items. Now you got to understand how the cottage food laws work. Normally, what they don't allow is potentially hazardous or potentially dangerous food items. These are products that have to be kept at a certain time or temperature sensitivity. So if it's a product that you have to make and it's a time-sensitive item, which means that you have to consume it in a very short period of time, or it has to be kept at a certain temperature or it will go bad, these are considered items that are normally not allowed under any state law for cottage food laws. Now, there is a couple exceptions. I think California does have a license B, I believe it is, and they allow you to sell those types of products with them, okay? Now, what other types of items can you make? Candies, dry goods like herbs and mixes and spices. You can do brittles and fudge, chocolates, pastries, pies. You can also do jams, jellies, and marmalades, okay? Now, some of the snack items that you can do as well would be things like seeds and nuts, mixed nuts, granolas you can make from scratch, popcorn, kettle corn, and chocolate-covered items, those types of things. Because you got to understand, those are not a potentially hazardous product, okay? Now, some of the prohibited foods. Now, this is some of them, not necessarily all-inclusive. You also want to double-check the resources we have down below the video, too. I'll have some links directly to the state of Alabama's cottage food website, okay? Prohibited items are like perishable baked goods, sauces, fruit butters, pickles, acidic foods. These are acidified foods. These are items that have to be kept at a certain pH level. Okay, if the acidity is not at that right level, bacteria has a tendency to form. So those are items that they normally want to keep people away from. Okay, meat jerkies and low acid canned foods are not allowed as well. So now let's go on to number 3. All right, we went ahead and covered our types of food. Number 4, restrictions and limitations. So what are the things that are limited when you're doing a cottage food business in the state of Alabama? Number 1, they don't allow children in the area. So if you are making a specific product at that time, they don't want to have children playing and running around and such in the area that you're making a food product that you're going to be selling. As far as equipment is concerned, you can't use large commercial style mixers, blenders. If there's any type of other equipment or appliances that are on a commercial level, you definitely don't want to be using that. You're not allowed to have employees under Alabama state law, which is nobody can basically help you make the products except for yourself. So it's a very kind of restrictive in that sense too, that you're going to be doing pretty much all the work. Pets and animals can't be in the kitchen or the prep area where you're making your foods. You have to also make sure you cannot use a commercial kitchen. You have to be at what's known as your primary residency. Now, your sales limit is $20,000, as I mentioned before. You can't offer samples. Now, this is something that's interesting because every state's different. Sampling in the state of Alabama under their cottage food law is prohibited. So you're not allowed to basically bring like an open container, let's say, to a local farmer's market and sample out a bunch of products. You've got to have it packaged. It's got to be completely ready to go and sold as is when you get to the markets. You can't be sampling. Now, other thing that's really kind of just also on the list is smoking. You can't smoke in the area in which you're prepping the food business. Okay? So now, number 5, insurance and for both food and auto. This is something that's interesting. If you're going to have a cottage food business in the state of Alabama, you want to double check on your insurance policy for your food business. A lot of people assume or they think that their homeowner's policy covers a business that sells food, and to be honest with you, most of them don't. I've actually honestly have never heard of a policy that will cover that, operating a complete food business and having that type of insurance policy. Now, also your auto insurance. If you're using your vehicle, this is another tax little thing. Of course, I'm not a tax consultant or a tax accountant, but let your accountant know that you're operating a business from home because there's a lot of benefits and tax benefits and write-offs that you have. Your automobile, if you're using that predominantly for use of the business and transporting ingredients, boxes, going to and back, farmers markets, utilizing it for business, the auto insurance and the auto use of that is something that you can claim as a tax deduction for your business. But again, I'm not giving you tax advice. You need to double check with your accountant on that. Now, next up, labeling and logo and branding. Now, step 6, if you're going to create a food product, make sure you've got a great label and logo. Keep that in mind. If you don't know how to make a logo or label, again, check all of our resources. We have a ton of resources to help you with all of this down below this video in the description section. You can get a logo made for you, okay? Remember, you're going to create a product that you want to brand. You want to have an image. You need to get that started as soon as possible, especially if you're doing it under the cottage food law. That's where most all food businesses start from and grow. So create that brand at the foundation of your business and grow from there, okay? Number 7 is packaging. How are you going to package it? Think of the types of packaging and something that's eye-catching for your product. Remember, you're going to be starting off at local farmers markets and such, but you're going to have a first impression. And you never know who's going to be buying it. There could be someone who could be at a grocery store, a buyer for a big grocery chain. They're going to be buying something at a farmer's market, and they're going to see your product and love it. And they may, place a big order that can push you from the cottage food into a commercial facility and into a larger business. So create a good packaging for your product. Step 8, market and promote. Yes, you can actually market and promote a cottage food business, especially in Alabama. You could go to local Facebook groups that are for Alabama in your community, your city, or your county. Join those Facebook groups and start promoting. Tell them, hey, I'm a local food business. I'm starting up. I'm going to be at the farmer's market this weekend. I'm going to be at this event this weekend. I'm going to be over here that weekend. So letting people know, very simple, is to join local Facebook groups within your city and county and promote your cottage food business. Now, one of the other things you need to be aware of, you need to have a food safety course. You must take a food safety course that's approved by the Alabama Department of Public Health every 5 years, okay? It's the ACES, is a in-person cottage food course. It costs about $30, but you have to take that. You got to go and take that yourself. You got to do that course, okay? Now, next up, review of label and food safety class. So after taking that course, after you get that taken, you have to also put a label and submit it with your course certification. You got to get a sample label checked off and looked at, okay? Sales tax also must be charged when you're selling at farmers markets and local areas. And those are, you got to basically check with your city and county on this, specifically people in charge of the taxes, and find out what the percentage is and that you have to charge, okay? Next up, labeling. Now, what goes on the label under cottage food laws for Alabama? Number 1, the business address. This obviously is going to be your home. Your home address has to be on the label because that's where you're operating your business from. Yes, cottage foods are considered a business. You cannot use a P.O. box, by the way, okay? Now, also the business name. So the name of if it's Susan's Cookies, then Susan's Cookies needs to be on the label. Also on the label needs to be the product name. So if you're selling, sugar cookies with sprinkles, then you need to have that on there. It needs to say sugar cookies with sprinkles. Now, lastly, something that's really important is a lot of people don't understand is they got to have the statement of cottage food. That means that you have to have a statement on there making it specific, known to the person buying it, that your home is not inspected. Okay, disclaimer basically says that it's not a product that's made in a commercial facility. It's in an uninspected kitchen. Okay, so that's something else that you need to be aware of. Now, let's jump back over to our list. After you market, step 9, keep all of your receipts for tax purposes, including ingredients, packaging, labels, all of your, by the way, all the courses that you have to take under the cottage food law that you have to take, you're paying for that. That's a business expense. Anything that you're expending for the operation of your business from day to day needs to be kept track of because you need to keep that for purposes of your business, okay? So that is the step 9. Now, step 10, just get started. Believe it or not, yes, most people have an idea to start a business. Most people think about having a business, but they never take action on actually doing it. Be sure to do that, guys. You need to take action on your dreams and your goals. It's been said a million times, obviously. If you have a small business idea, pursue it. Go after it. But you need to take action to do it. So these are 10 steps to help you understand, can I sell food from home in Alabama? Yes. The answer is that is yes. And exactly how do you get a cottage food permit in Alabama? We went over that as well. And what is the cottage food law in Alabama? Pretty much it's a pretty decent one, but the amount that you can sell each year is pretty limiting. $20,000 is really not a lot of money. They need to definitely look into that and raise it. So if this video was helpful for you, let us know down below. Give us a big thumbs up. And if you have any comments, let us know.